Hello and welcome to part 4 of our Revell German submarine build. This is the Type 21 with the full interior, and it's a 1/44 scale. And in this video I'm just test fitting these glide planes, I think they're called, in the front. We'll just have a quick look here. So there's where they are in there. Now the idea of these is that they slide in and out on a little contraption in there. Now what I've found is these are very, very delicate, and I've noticed in a couple of other builders of this model that they break really easily. So I've decided that I'm going to just keep them in like that for now, but once it's built, I'll just decide whether I'll have them in or out and keep them that way. I'll definitely try not to move them too much. But they do fit, which is a relief, because I'm getting to the point where I was needing to put the deck on. But at the same time, I need to install lights on the deck, so I may not put the deck on yet. But the conning tower could probably go on. So I'm in a bit of conflict at the moment what to do. One other thing I came across was, and this might save you a lot of frustration, because it gave me frustration. In step 3, we put this together. Simple, you know. Now, I looked step 4, it doesn't show what it is or where it goes, or step 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm thinking, well, what is this? Where does it go? Anyway, after searching through all of this, trying to find what that thing is and where it goes, it's not until step 54, which is the second last step of the entire build, that there it is there. Look at that, pointing to number 3, and obviously it's the rudder on the rear. But why get you to put that together when the next time you need to use it is like the second last step of the whole build? I mean, surely they could have said in step 54 to, you know, glue that bit together and that's where it goes. I had no idea for so long where that bit went. Anyway, problem is solved, and it's obviously going to sit in this box for quite a long time until we're towards the end of the build. What else I've got is, and I'll just lift this back off, and is I've done the screws here, and they're all painted up, looking nice. If I can get it to focus for me. Come on, camera. Focus, camera. Doesn't want to. Okay. Anyway, that will go onto there, which I'm going to put them on now. Might as well, they're not going to get bumped in anyway. So I'll do that. And then I'll have a look at, oh yes, I'll also show you, I've done a lot of work on the conning tower here. So look at that. We've got all our periscope there. Pretty much, it's going to focus for me now. Yes, radars, aerials, all up on top there. So that's looking good. So there's quite a possibility that I may now be able to put this on the deck before attaching the deck to the hull. If I followed the instructions, they'd want me to attach the hull, the deck here in step 11 first, then put together all the conning tower, which I've already done, and then attach it to the hull, to the deck. But I'm thinking that because this is attached only along one side, so if I was to put the deck on, it would be attached to this side and along here, it's going to be quite flimsy, and I still need to attach and wire up LED lights all across the bottom of this. So it's going to be much easier to do that without it attached onto there. So that's the plan. So I'll look into that in a bit more detail, and for the moment I'll get these on and possibly this on the deck. Okay, so I'll be back shortly. Okay, so there's our two screws connected onto the rears there. Come up quite nice. And also I've glued in one side of this. So if you can see there. So we've got one side glued in, and I've made sure it was straight by just dry fitting the other side as well, so it will attach correctly. So I'll leave that to dry really well, because I'm just got to be careful with that. And now I'm going to go and have a quick look at placing, seeing if we can get that coning tower onto the deck and do that part of it. There's also a small ladder which I had to paint green. There it is there. And that goes inside there as well. So, okay, we'll just set up and I'll show you that. 1 second. Okay, welcome back again. And what I've done is I've test fitted this all on here, and I've just had a look at it carefully, and I've come to the conclusion that I'd like to get an LED light to light this up inside here. And to do that, I need to put a hole through here, which will be underneath there, so a hole just in there, and then I'd run an LED light up into here, and then I wouldn't need much because all that would be lit up in there. I just need something to let the light come through. So whether it be drill a little hole in there and poke the LED up against it, and that would let some light in there. That might be the option. But either way, it's left me with the option, well, no option, but I can't be gluing this down onto the deck yet until I can sort out how I want to light that up. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to set these aside and move on in the instructions. So what that means is now we've gone through step 9's done, 10, 11 is not done because we haven't attached the deck to the hull, and I'm not going to do that. All the rest from 12 up to 20 is done, which is putting all the coning tower together, which is done. And as you can see, that's all done there. So moving on to step 22, which is up to the front there. There's an optional piece to go inside there where the torpedoes are, and it looks like step 23 is working on the torpedo tubes and putting together them. There's about 6 of them to be put together going by this. So this is the beginning of some of the interior. So we're going to go ahead and start on that, put all of this aside, and hope that my LED lights aren't too far away by the post, which has other difficulties as well, because currently, because of this COVID virus, my council area is in lockdown, which I noticed on Friday that the post office was actually closed, and I think that they've reduced their hours way down, and they're hopefully not completely closed, because I have a post office box there and all my mail goes to there, and anything that's too big for the post office box, they leave you a little card to come along and pick up inside the post office, which you can't do if it's closed. That's also a reason why I'm not buying anything large at the moment. There is another model I want to buy and some other bits and pieces, but if they get delivered to my post office box, I won't be able to access them. So, and we have restrictions on lockdown here too, so we can only go out for essential reasons. But anyway, hopefully if you're watching this in about 2 years' time, that will all be in the past. If you're watching this next year, I have a feeling this still may be an issue. But what happens, eh? We'll see. Alright, so I'll be back shortly. I'll tidy up here and we'll get the sprues and we'll have a look at starting on the beginning of the interior of this submarine. Get back shortly. Okay, so I'm back again and looking at these torpedo tubes. So these are the actual tubes, not the torpedoes, that go into the wall. They stick out of the wall here. So this piece here is the piece of wall, and then we've got to make the 6 tubes sit in there, which the torpedoes slide into. Now, what I've noticed is that's fine. I'll be able to paint that up, and there's decals to go on that as well. But these pieces here, which are all these, all have to be taken off. I've taken the first one off, and they've got little, you can see there where they line up, hopefully. There we go. So there's where the pins line up to attach. But as you see, they're not a very nice fit at all. So what I've done is I've actually cut off one of those nubs there because it just wasn't sitting in there flush, and just putting the whole thing crooked. So with that cut off, now when I have them together, they're much better. It's a much better fit, and that's probably what I'll have to do with all of them. And then they'll still need a little bit of cleaning up, but definitely cut off those little nubs that connect the 2 sides together, because they don't line up properly with those. And I think probably the Mr. Surfacer that I use for doing these will be enough to fill any gap, which there hardly is once you've cut those off. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 6 together, and then after that there'll be torpedo tubes themselves to be put together. The instructions are quite confusing here, because they don't really say how many. They say there's 6 of these, which there is, but then there's 2 torpedo tubes coming off the back here. Oh, I see. So 2 of them actually extend off the back and probably out to the side of the hull to be able to see them. That's what I think is happening there. Anyway, I'm going to get back to it. I'll put these pieces together and we'll see how they come up. Back shortly. Okay, g'day, welcome back again. And at the moment I've got all the pieces done or ready to paint for the pretty much the torpedo compartment. I've got all these little pieces here that I did, all being sanded up and smoothed and glued together, so they're ready to all in undercoat. We've got the floor, we've got the back panel as well there. We've got the racks for the torpedoes to sit in. There's the wall there where these will fit in there, which is where your torpedoes will slide into, as well as the 2 tubes that look like they run towards the front of the submarine where they exit the submarine, and there's a back wall there as well. So I'm going to go and undercoat these now, and it's not too late in the day. It's about nearly midday, so all going well. I should even be able to get a base coat on these about an hour or two after. Yeah, make a bit of progress. Okay, we'll be back shortly. Okay, welcome back. And what I've done now is got all these parts painted for the torpedo room. And I'll just show you quickly on the box art what exactly we're doing here. So there we go there. So this is what we're building in here. Now, so we've got these little tubes here which are aluminium colour, which I've painted. I haven't got the missiles yet. I haven't done them, they're still on the sprue, but I've got the mounts, racks for them done, and that back wall's done. I've got the floor which has been painted, and there's a wall for the back that's also been painted. So I've used off-white in all those structures. I'll just move that aside. So let's have a look at this. So those are the pieces that sit in the back that I did silver. So that's where the torpedoes load into the tubes, and they will mount onto that. And I'll just this white affects the camera. We get better when it's out of the way. Okay, so now these are all still wet pretty much. I've painted these not long ago, but so they stick out of there like that. On the back of that, extending towards on the interior of the submarine, is these tubes. There's two of those which will connect on the back there. Then we have the floor, and there's the floor done, which looks nice. And that's I was going to say that's where you'll see these pieces here will mount. So these are the racks for the torpedoes, which will go into there. Sorry, there we go. So they're going to go in there like that, and there, and that's where they'll sit. There's also another major wall there that comes through into the torpedo room from the room before. There's also decals for all of this. There's decals for the back wall as well, which is here, which is painted. So there'll be decals going on across the back of that as well. Which reminds me, I'll need to put a clear coat on that to help the decals stay in place, because that seemed to work really well on the hull. Yeah, so I'm just letting all that dry. All those pieces there will all dry, and then I'll put them all together. I may get some of the torpedoes themselves off the sprue, because they need to be installed on the racks. There they are there, and they'll need to be painted. But the instructions haven't told me to do that yet, so I won't. We'll stick with what the instructions are saying. So okay, back shortly, and we'll have a look at what this looks like on together. Okay, cheers. Hey, hello, welcome back, guys. So what I'm done here is I've connected the torpedo tubes to the back of this sort of a wall piece that goes in the back, and then on the other side I've put the decals on. See how they look, and I've just put them on so they're sort of still setting on there. And those the 6 holes on this side will be filled in with these pieces, which I've done in an aluminium colour, and they will pop on pretty much just like that. I'll just fill them in. That's where the torpedoes go. And and then we'll attach this. I think this probably will attach to the floor some way in there, but before that the floor needs to be set up, which you see here, with the racks, which I've also got painted on the side. But so yeah, that's coming up okay. I didn't put a clear coat on before I put the decals on, because it's a sort of it's a gloss off-white, so there was no need to. But I will put just a little quick clear coat across it before I do any weathering and panel line wash on there, and dirtying it up a bit. But I'll see how that goes once it's together, this whole little module for the torpedo room, and how accessible it is. But it may come to the case where it's probably better to sort of weather it as I go. Once I put these little tubes on, we'll have a look and see how that goes, and hopefully probably give it a little bit of a spray of clear coat and weather it up. Okay, back in a second. Okay, so here's what we look like so far. I've just dry fitted most of this in here. The only part that's glued are these main structures here where the torpedoes are going to sit on. Now, I've just dry fitted to see how these would fit, and it does fit, but I've discovered that it's going to get a little bit tricky doing the detail in there. So what I'll do is I'll clear coat that back wall as well as this wall in here where the decals are, and then I'll give them a bit of a go with the panel line wash to bring out that detail on the back wall. I have painted a little bit of it with some silver, which you probably won't be able to see. Some of the piping there was just darkened with a slight bit of grey in there, so it does stand out a little bit more than normal. But once there's panel line wash on there, that'll be fine. So pretty much that that will get a clear coat on there, so I can just do a little bit of weathering around on that, and that should be fine. And then this part here, I'll also weather that back wall. I'll also check to make sure I can put the missiles, the torpedoes on the racks here while that wall's there as well before I attach it, just to make sure it's not going to get in the way of anything. Okay, and also there was a piece that goes on here which moves on to the next compartment where the crew sleep, and that wall I've done a light colour, which I'll show you when it's dry, and that'll be the colours, the light, it's actually a skin tone that I'm using. I think it'll look good, and that'll be for the sleeping quarters, which I can show you on the box here while we're here. So we'll look at that. Okay, so that's those pieces there, the back wall, there's that bit there, and then on the other side of that is the part that I've done, which is going to be this sort of colour on the walls in there, which is like the crew quarters. Yeah, so that's going to look good. Alright, so back shortly and we'll have a look at a bit more progress. Hey, okay, back again, and I've clear coated these parts now, as you can see, so I'll be able to get you, there we go, you can have a look at that. It's going to work for me. There we go. So it's clear coat on there. I'll be able to do some weathering, put a bit of panel line wash on there, and get some of that detail just to pop out a little bit more. That's the back wall of the torpedo room. This part here is done, and there you go, some decals in there. I'll just give that a little bit of a, you know, grungy look, not too dirty, but I'll just dirty it up a little bit and, you know, make it look like the interior of a submarine that's seen some service. And here's the other piece which will also do a washover. Now this here, there's the hatchway you go through from the torpedo room into the sleeping quarters and of the crew, and you'll see on this side there's the colour. I've painted that, so that will be the crew quarter colours at this stage, and I think I've got that colour pretty close to what I want it to be. If I compare to what it looks like on the box, wait a second, here we go. So there it is there. I think that's going to look pretty good, and also it goes well for some of the photos in the actual submarine. Quite accurate and matching as well. Alright, so I will let these dry. As I said, I've just done the clear coat on them, so I'll let them dry properly overnight before I do any weathering on them tomorrow, and then put this whole section together. Okay, so back shortly. Okay, hello, welcome back again, and I'll show you where I'm up to at the moment. So what I've done is I've only just glued these on. So here's the interior of the Torpedo Bay. The back wall is glued on, as you can see in there. This section here where the tubes are glued on. You might notice I've done a bit of a panel line wash on that back wall just to get that detail show up a little bit more. It was a little bit tricky getting to line up properly. You can't see it, of course, because it looks okay, but if I was to turn it around here, there is a bit of a gap under here where it doesn't sit square on the bottom, but it's completely unnoticeable. You'll see if you look down through there, seeing my hand through that gap, it doesn't sit flush to the floor, but that's okay. You won't notice that. Now this section here, as you can see that, now that's going to go on here. Put my hands out of the way. So that's going to attach in there like that. And on the back is I put the decal there. There's only one decal goes on there. It's that little piece there for a door. Now on the hatchway here, the entrance through here, there is actually a little hatch, and there it is there, which I need to paint before I can fit that, and I'll just attach that there in the open position. So I need to go and paint that. I'm just going to find some other pieces to paint while I'm at it, because I mean, painting that little piece on its own is a bit pointless. And then I can attach that, but then of course the torpedoes need to go on, which I haven't started yet, and these are the torpedoes here. So they're all moulded one piece. I don't have to attach the two halves of those, so that's good. And they go in the sets of 3, and they'll sit in those racks. Now I'll go and I'll undercoat them along with that hatch, and then these are actually silver metal colour with red tips. And as for the propellers, I'll go check some photos and see if there's going to be some grey or black, or whether they are silver as well, just to get that a bit more accurate. Alright, so I'll go and spray those. I'll put that aside to dry, and we'll get those torpedoes in there and the hatch on, and that'll be the Torpedo Bay completed. Okay, back shortly. Okay, welcome back. So, finished the torpedo room here. Look at some of the detail in there. So, got the wall on, got the hatch closed, it's coming through into the room, all the torpedoes in place, all the loading tubes there. The back wall you can't see much, if anything, of the detail, but anyway, it's done. There's all our torpedoes, so it's looking good. And now we move on to the next section here, which is the crew's quarters, crew sleeping quarters, and that I'll just put aside. And that brings us, step 29 is now completed, all done, and now we go on to the crew quarters, step 30. So there's a few more frames, like sections between the quarters in here. There's a back wall that's going to need to be put in, along with lots of sleeping bunks and a floor area here. So there's quite a bit. So yeah, I want to get started on that and get the pieces together and see where we go from there. Okay, back in a sec. Hey, welcome back. So I thought I'd just quickly show you all the parts for the sleeping quarters that I need to undercoat. It's Friday afternoon. I want to get these painted so I can work on them on the weekend. Basically, we've got some batteries here. There's also a wall where the bunks will be mounted on in the back there. There's another hatchway and wall goes through into that part of the submarine. There's a couple of walls that come out the side between the bunks, and of course there's a floor here to go in. And to give you a quick idea of what that looks like, I'll just bring out our box art here, and we will be able to see that we're working on this. So there's all the bunks, the back wall, the floor, underneath are those batteries. So that's what I'm going to just put all in undercoat now, and so I'll be able to spend the weekend and we can get all this area done as well. There also seems to be like a little bathroom area there possibly, and another little quarter section in there. But at the moment this is the focus, is here and here, and checking on these, like the bunks I know that I'll do the wood brown that they are, but I'm not too sure on the bedding what colour I'll do that with the pillows that are on there. You can see they're quite detailed. And going to be a little bit tricky to paint too, but yeah, so anyway, but we'll work that out over the weekend. Okay, back shortly and we'll have a look at what colours I'll need to paint these after I've undercoated them. Okay, back shortly. Okay, hello, welcome back. So I'll just show you what I'm doing here is these are the battery cells that go under the floor of the crew sleeping compartment. So to give you a better view, I'll show you on the model here. So what we're doing here is these here, all these batteries under here, and eventually there'll be more over here, but just for now is this. And as you can see, they come right up close to the actual floor of that goes above it. So very little, if anything, can be seen along the top. Maybe just the top of the front bank of batteries may be able to be seen, and same with the bottom. So what I'm doing is I'm taping it up. So there's the very bottom one, looks like that. And you see there's a lot of detail on these. That's gonna, there we go, that you could be painting, but really all of that you're not going to be able to see because it's covered by this, which will be sitting pretty much right on top. You will be able to see the side here, and you probably will be able to see that floor bit, which is the grey, and the batteries themselves I'm thinking of doing NATO black, and down there will be a very faint white, just to show the separation of each cell, and possibly I'll just touch the tops there with, to put little white marks where the terminals are, to indicate on there. Now on this one, which is the one directly under the floor of where the crew sleep, I've taped that up so I can do this, the floor colour, grey, which is the same as that one there, so it'll be that grey. That's better. Right, that's the grey. And then I'll take off the tape, then I'll run some tape over that grey when it's done, and then I'll do the NATO black, but not in too much detail. Like all this in the centre is not going to be seen, but the edges and the side on one side will. Obviously that works, it's on the side with the wall, but for the viewing side will be just there, and that's it. The other parts to the whole room, the other walls, the back wall and so forth, I've painted them. I'll bring them out in a second. We'll have a look at those. Okay, back in a second. Okay, so these are the bits for the all the walls and floor area for step 30. So it's still drying the grey, which will stick to the grey right through, I believe, right through the whole submarine for the floor. These areas in here, there's some bits got to be done brown, as well as some metallic aluminium, which I'll do when that dries. And I'll brush paint them. I'll just tape up so I don't get any on the floor, and mask them up and do them by brush. There's the back wall where the bunks will go, and little attachment points on there. And of course there's a couple of little walls that come off the side of there as well, like little dividers, and they're painted up as well. And then of course we've got, just clear that off, this one, which is the interior wall that goes through to the next section of the submarine, which is just painted on one side because the other side's going to be grey as it goes through into the next room, which I believe will be below the periscope in the centre of the sub in there. And again, just painted, so I'm going to let those all dry properly, and we'll come back and start putting those together, although I still have to do the bunks. And the bunks are a little bit tricky because there's quite a few different ones. So there's parts number 60 and 59, then there's 62 here, there's 61, and I don't want to get them mixed up, yet they all have to be painted. And I still haven't decided on the colour I want to do those, other than the brown frames. The actual bed linen on there I'm not too sure about yet. Okay, but I'll think about that while these are drying, and we'll come back and look at it a bit further on. Cheers, back in a second. Okay, so we're back again, and I've cut out the bunks off the sprue that I need to give a undercoat to, and I've left the numbers on so I can tell. Then those two are number 61, those two are 60, and these three are the number 59s. 59? Yeah, 59, not 69. And I've decided the colour I'm going to use. So basically I'm going to use this Tamiya XF79. It's a deck brown. I think that's pretty close to the colour on the actual submarine. I can put a picture up and you'll see one of the rooms where these bunks are. Now, as you'll see on that picture, the mattress on there is also a brown, but I don't want it to blend in too much. I want it to stand out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is the top mattress, although when you look at the pictures on the ship, on the submarine itself, I'll have a look at these, they've got it looking like there's like bed sheets on there in white, which is, I can not really imagine them having that, because could you imagine how dirty they would get? I mean, there's no way what they would stay white for long. These crewing submarines, pretty filthy environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it this colour. I don't know if anybody watched it, but I made a model earlier of a a Russian missile cruiser, the Varyag, and this was the colour I used on the deck. So it's a bit of a reddish brown, but it will stand out a little bit more when I compare it to this. So that's the mattress colour I'm going to do. That could also be interpreted as a blanket or something, a covering on top. So that'll go on top of these, but there's also, if it's going to look, you can see there's pillows there as well. So the pillows I'm going to do white. I'm just going to do them white. So definitely going to look like bunk beds. Okay, so I'm going to, now the idea is I'll go with the airbrush, give these a primer coat, and then I'm thinking of just hand brushing these other colours on. It's going to be a much easier job, I think, to get that on. We'll have to have a test on one of them and see how it goes. Alright, back shortly. Okay, so I've got those bits undercoated, they're drying now. It's Saturday morning. I've got quite a lot I'm going to do on the model this weekend. I'm planning to, mainly because we're all in lockdown here in Sydney and Australia, and we aren't allowed to go anywhere, so what better excuse than to stay in and build models. So what I'll do is I'll put some photos up of this from the real submarine, so as a bit of a comparison of what we're trying to get this to look like. You saw earlier a picture of the room with the bunks. I can put another photo up there now that shows a bit more of the bunks area. And I think we'll call this a video now because we've gone over half an hour. It's longer than I usually, probably closer to 40 minutes. And it's a bit longer than what I want them to be. So that'll be it for part 2, I think. We're on part 3 for part 3. In part 4 we'll put all this sleeping quarters together, and I'll work on this over the weekend, and depending on how much I get done, might actually release 2 videos. So this one you'll be seeing on the Monday for what I've done during the week before. But maybe about Wednesday or so there may be another video come out if I get a lot done on the weekend to fill enough content. Okay, so please, if you've got any comments below, welcome to comment. Any tips or suggestions, thoughts, whatever you like. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and please subscribe. Subscribers are going up slowly and steadily. At the time of shooting this, we're probably just about to hit 400 subscribers. I'm looking forward to that. Getting up again, so I want to get up to 500. I'd love to get 1,000, but we'll see. So it'd be good if you could like and share the video, and if anyone else that might be interested in social media. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in part 4. Okay, bye for now. Cheers.